Mr. Chairman, conditions for the Rohingya ethnic minority have deteriorated both inside and outside of Myanmar. But as we push for nations to step up and take responsibility that they have not taken, those who have stood up and provided resources, like the United States, must at least maintain their current level of support. And the best way to do that is to deny the junta the three things that it needs the most to sustain itself: weapons, money, and legitimacy. Mr. Chairman, conditions for the Rohingya ethnic minority have deteriorated both inside and outside of Myanmar. More than 1 million have been forced into overcrowded, squalid camps in Bangladesh, prohibited from working, and with very limited educational opportunities for their children. Rohingya families have seen their food rations cut by a third. They must now figure out how to survive on 27 cents per day. Even before the cuts, 40% of Rohingya children were suffering from stunted growth, over half anemic, and yet we've reduced their meager rations even more. This is scandalous. With life in Bangladesh untenable and returning to Myanmar unthinkable, last year more than 35 Rohingya sought to escape by putting their fate into the hands of seafaring smugglers. Hundreds perished. And when I was in Indonesia a short time ago, I met with some of the lucky ones who survived, and they told me that people are already making preparations and lining up to put their fate into the hands of smugglers because of how bad conditions are. A smuggler's boat sank just a few weeks ago, killing dozens, and I am very concerned that we're going to see a significant increase in the number of those boats, the number of desperate people, and the number of people who are going to perish at sea. So what should be done? First, the United States should provide the requisite humanitarian aid for those who are struggling to survive both inside and outside of Myanmar, and help to mobilize support from additional states. While the junta severely restricts the distribution of life-saving aid within Myanmar, civil society organizations have developed very sophisticated networks that can get aid to where it is needed. What they lack are adequate levels of support, and we must do better in supporting those organizations. Support is also needed for those from Myanmar who have been forced to flee to neighboring states. The Rohingya Humanitarian Response Plan, or JRP, which you've been discussing, it includes food rations for Rohingya children in Bangladesh. That fund is only 32% funded up to this point this year. And I am alarmed by reports that some donors, including the United States, may likely reduce their level of support for this fund this year. Mr. Chairman, the situation is truly desperate, and it's why I've been traveling to UN member states throughout the region and the world to push for stronger, life-saving support for the JRP. But as we push for nations to step up and take responsibility that they have not taken, those who have stood up and provided resources, like the United States, must at least maintain their current level of support. Now, the best way to address the escalating need for humanitarian aid is to stop what is driving the need for humanitarian aid, and that is the junta and its war on the people of Myanmar. And the best way to do that is to deny the junta the three things that it needs the most to sustain itself: weapons, money, and legitimacy.